And now, it's that time of the week once again. Welcome to the Departure Lounge podcast with your hosts, Tom Whittle and Steve Woldridge. Your ticket to the home of aviation podcasts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
We're back. Did you miss us? No? Not even a little bit? Fair enough. Evening, everybody, to episode number 35 of the Departure Lounge podcast here on the Departure Lounge YouTube channel. Yes, we are back after a week away. I've been away at Stansted, but that's not important. What's important is that we're back and we are here to bring you another bumper-packed show this evening. And joining me to do so is my wonderful co-host, and I'm Mr. Business Class to Business Class for my shirt. It's it's Steve Woldridge. Steve, good evening to you. How are you?
Yeah, no, hello everyone at home, and yourself, Tom. It's good to be back after the week off. I'm just checking my screen to make sure I haven't got any cheese on my chin because I've literally this second finished eating my dinner, so I think we're good. I don't want to do the whole show with a nugget of cheese on my chin and nobody tell me about it, you see.
No, there's no nugget of cheese. There's also no business class, just spewed all over you.
Yeah, let me get some champagne.
Yeah, champagne, please. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
about that in a minute. But also joining us this evening for a taste of Eastern Europe is Ian Hartleyski. There he is.
That's me.
How are you this evening?
I'm very good, thanks, Tom. Yourself?
Doing all right. Yeah, very well.
Good. You all right as well, Steve?
Yeah, no, really good. Nice to see you again this week, and looking forward to tonight. It'll be an education. I've certainly learned a lot today, sort of reading up on it all. So hopefully everyone at home will find it equally as interesting.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
Let's hope so.
As Tom would
Yeah,
say.
let's hope so. But yeah, so like I say, we were away last week because I was away last week and I can't trust podcast in their hands. So, but no. So we're back after a week. We're all getting used to doing this again and everything. And obviously this week we are sort of following on from what we did last week, where we spoke, sort of the week before, I should say, where we spoke about the Antonov 225. Today we're diving into Eastern European aviation. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I say, very educational from everything that we've learned, sort of looking up sort of the big three and of course the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's these shows are always an education, and you scour the internet and YouTube and that, and there's a sort of few surprises in there that I didn't know myself. So we'll look forward to sharing those with everyone at home and what have you. That's for sure.
Yes. So before we get into sort of the housekeeping side of things, just a couple of hellos. One from Planespotter 555. So he says, "Hi guys." So hello to you, and Marco Barrett as well, saying good evening, guys. So good evening to you as well.
Good evening to you too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, likewise.
So let's get into some housekeeping. So throughout the evening, we're going to be putting up our social medias, which you can find also in the description below. You can find us on Instagram, Discord, Twitter, and Facebook, if you fancy following us on there to keep up to date with what we're doing. We are on Spotify as well, which this episode will be going up tomorrow. If you want to sort of have a look at that and sort of take us where you go. Like I say, you can take the rest of our episodes as well, all 34 of them previous to this one. It's still weird saying 30-odd episodes, but all 34 episodes before this one with you, pretty much anywhere you go. Sounds like that song, doesn't it? Everywhere you go, always take the weather, but you can always take the podcast. I'm not singing it, though. But yeah, you can follow us on there. Everything is in the description below, and we'll be putting them up on the screen as the evening goes on. Do you know, after a week of not doing this, I'm trying to remember everything. Yes, also the other thing, if I just bring it up quickly, nice little point down there. The link to our shop where you can buy everything to do with t-shirts, mugs, stickers, cups, hoodies, everything you can find down below in the description as well. Helps us out. We don't make a lot from it. Like, hands up, we don't make a lot from it anyway. But it's just nice to give something back to a lot of people who want to support the channel. So you can get t-shirts like this. You can get hoodies that no one else is wearing. You're all slacking this evening. It's not great.
Mine's in the wash. I was representing the other day, so it's being washed.
We'll get on to that in a minute. But yeah, so yeah, shop link is in the description below. Check it out if you want to buy some merch and support the channel. And lastly, if you want to be a guest on the show with us and just literally talk nonsense for an hour and a half on a Wednesday evening or whenever it may be, whenever suits you, of course, you can get in touch with us via our social medias and we will get you on sort of as soon as we can, which will be very soon, actually. So if you fancy it, drop us a message. But yes, so we'll go into the elephant of the room, as we know, during the week. Steve, Mr. Business Class, tell us all about your little experience on the A380.
Yeah, well, for those who don't know, I booked myself a little trip on the 380 because it was obviously doing the Frankfurt routes at the moment, and I picked up a very reasonable deal and flew it business there and back. And I have to say, like, from check-in to being on board, the BA staff were absolutely incredible, and the flight itself, it was the best I've ever been on. It was like just being in your front room. Like, the takeoff was incredibly smooth. The service was absolutely as amazing as you'd imagine, and they even showed us around the top deck and the first class, and they really made the experience sort of top level. So a massive thanks to BA for doing that and whatever. And if you get the chance to go on it while they're still flying these local routes, I'd highly recommend it. Even in scumbag class, as I now call it, it's well worth a go.
Boy, there's going to be more apologies that are going to be given out over the weeks.
It's the 1 week I can say it. I'll be back to being in Ryanair and EasyJet soon, so just let me have my moment.
If anyone sees Steve clicking his fingers asking for champagne, just put something in the chat. Excuse me from drinking from the bottle, by the way.
Let me just get
not
my
classy as some people.
Yeah, I'll just grab my Dom Perrier and have a little swig out of that.
Yeah, I'll tell you where you can put that as well. So anyway, we'll get on to it. I think. Yeah. So as I showed earlier, or just now, Martin Waldridge says, "Evening, chaps. Hope all is good." And Marco Barrett, not happy about this. Multitasking tonight, got us on the iPad and then watching the darts on the telly.
Oh, playing tonight. I need to see if I need to be multitasking as well, to be honest.
Well,
MasterChef's on BBC One. Why would you want to watch darts?
Right, we're on for the next 20 minutes. So
yeah, my brother's stealing Wi-Fi because I know for a fact that he's cat sitting at the moment, so he's ripping off their Wi-Fi. So top marks to him on that one.
So before we jump into the topic of this evening's podcast, there is a poll in the chat which we put up, and we want to know what kind of which one of the big three Eastern European companies is your favorite. So do vote on that one. And if you have any comments for us this evening, or even got any questions, or you just want to say hello, pop them in the chat and we'll show them on the screen throughout this evening. But we're going to dive into the topic of conversation this evening. So last time we were live, as we said, we spoke about the Antonov 225. We quite enjoyed that, didn't we? We quite enjoyed looking at the history of the Antonov 225. So we've taken it upon ourselves to dive into Eastern Europe as a whole, which doesn't really get touched a lot by a lot of, like, say, podcasters and things like that. Touched a lot is not the best way of putting it. But it's not spoken about. So we thought we would take the opportunity to look at the big three, which is Ilyushin, Tupolev and Antonov. I nearly forgot then. No Mir Shishchev, though, for anyone watching.
Showing off still, Tom.
None of that. I might even get that tattooed on my arm or something. But we're looking at the big three. And we're actually going to start with what we looked at 2 weeks ago, but not the 225. We're going to try and avoid that, but we're going to look at Antonov as a whole. So, firstly, hello. Let's do that properly. So, firstly, shout out to the video from Munich Spotter. This is a compilation that we got in the background of all the sort of Antonov special departures, whilst we sort of talk about Antonov as a whole. So, Antonov as a whole, a little bit of a special kind of company because of all the enormous planes they have.
Yeah, that's it. And they're a state-owned company, 75 years old now, and obviously what they're most famous for is what we spoke about last week, the 225. But I certainly was lucky enough to start the year to see the AN-26 come into Bournemouth, which had come over. It was incredible. Like, old Greta would have been crying because the amount of black smoke it was kicking out the back of it as it came in was incredible, but really good. And I understand all the dials and that are still sort of in Ukrainian and still very kind of Soviet looking. So they've never really stepped away from the history of when these planes were being built and the like.
Yeah. So Antonov were founded in 1946, and a little bit of a history lesson for those of you that watch him. Initially, I mean, they came into they sort of designed what they call the Antonov 2 or the AN2, which for those that don't know is like a small sort of biplane, quite a legendary aircraft actually, sort of Russian skies, and Russian skies? It's not Russian, is it? Ukrainian, of course it is. It's Ukrainian skies, sorry. And the Antonov 2 was designed as an agricultural aircraft to start off with. And then obviously over time, like I say, as we see on the screen now, the Antonov 12 came into play. We also had the Antonov 8, which was if you take an Antonov 12 and take two of its engines off, that's what an Antonov 8 is. And as you say, as they move on and stuff, they got smaller and then obviously decided to get larger as with the Antonov 124 or 124, I should say, and the 225 as we know and see today. But it's quite an eye catcher for a lot of spotters and stuff to see planes such as the Antonov 12, which is older than most of our fathers or parents and things like that. So to see something like this flying in the skies nowadays is quite something. Anybody had the privilege of seeing one of these Antonov 12s particularly?
I can't think I have, but like you say, there's still a couple still knocking around in service and that, which is a testament, given that they're sort of from the Cold War era, to still be around. It's incredible, really. They're obviously built for passenger and sort of cargo back in the day, as turboprop airplanes sort of began becoming prominent in the skies around that era. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's decent to still see
think there's one. I think there's one still goes into Manchester every now and again, doesn't it? Carrying car parts in from somewhere. I'm not sure. I know it meant to be quite regular, but I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen pictures of it going into Manchester, to be honest. But I'm sure there was one.
I've seen a couple go in there, but not with my own eyes, sort of thing. I've seen it through people posting. Posting it onto the Facebook group chats and stuff like that. So I can, So I mean, I haven't seen one. I mean, Russian aircraft as a whole. We'll get onto sort of the other ones that I've actually seen when we get to the company and stuff. But Antonov wise, I don't think I've ever seen a proper Antonov in that. But like I say, there are still loads of them knocking around.
Absolutely,
So
it's only the 2.6 I've ever seen come into Bournemouth that time.
Yeah.
But as Isaac says, apparently there was two of them, but I'm pretty sure it was the same one that just did a go around. I don't want to upset him and make him look daft.
He'll probably correct you.
I'm sure he will.
Marco Barrett says he's seen a few Antonov 12s at Manchester. I've got an ad coming up. I'll just take that off screen quick.
Yeah, I've not seen any at all, mate. You can hear them. I've heard them.
Oh, 100% you can hear them. Like,
Sounds
when
like
a Russian plane is going over. Or, But Rob Brown Plane Sporting says that he's seen a new addition to the Kavok Antonov 12 fleet at Prestwick, being a 1963 model. So not bad for a new plane.
Well, yeah. The 10 and the 12, they actually used it for during the Vietnam War and part of the Chernobyl relief effort as well. So it's done some service as well as sort of what we know it for these days. And no one noticed your poster going, Tom.
Nobody noticed that. Why has it always happened to me? Honestly.
But yeah, no, they were quite prominent in sort of Vietnam and what have you. So they've carried out some really serious sort of flying missions for what would have been the USSR at that point, I suppose.
And of course, the Antonovs as well, especially the 225, is quite. Obviously, it's a famous plane as we spoke about, and obviously the 124 we see on the screen there as well that are used for like relief efforts as well. So, like you say, with like the Cold War and that with the Antonov 12s and things like that, the Antonov 124 and I think the 225 we use sort of. One that sticks to mind is the Haiti relief effort. I think it was after, I want to say, an earthquake, I think.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, big one. Yeah.
And they were used, especially the 225, to send out to Haiti to do give out the relief stuff like support and everything else as well. So it's got a rich history, and of course the plane's so big as well. You may as well use it on things like that, and
yeah, absolutely. The 225, like we spoke about the other week, the capacity of it to sort of to ship stuff around the world and the audience it gathers when it goes places, it's just such a famous aircraft, isn't it? It's, you drive out your way. If it was going into Heathrow tomorrow, I'd be in my car to go and see it. That's for sure.
You'd sort of drop everything to kind of go and see one. I know, Ian, you had the wonderful pleasure of seeing one of these Antonov 124s at Wharton, of all places.
Yeah, it came in to carry a couple of tornadoes back to Saudi Arabia after it did after BAE had stopped servicing them, I suppose. And to say that I won't say it's the shortest runway, but it's not the biggest airfield in the world, but it got in comfortably. The only thing is with that particular airfield is you can't. There's nowhere to turn around at the end. So they sort of have to. I've seen it with Boeing 747s as well. They come in and then they have to be towed back into where they're going and things like that, which is quite a sight to see. But when it were going back out again, where we spot from at Wharton, more than I would say probably 80 to 100 foot away from piano markers at end at runway, and to see that thing coming right up towards you with it's absolutely phenomenal sight. It really, really is.
Yeah, the 124, they built 55 of them originally, and there's still a few knocking around the place. So
absolutely, they were
left
built to last, weren't they?
Yeah, no, we're all kind of war horses, aren't they, of their era? That's for sure.
Yeah, they're absolutely bulletproof. They always have been, haven't they? And I think these days, after Ukraine falling out with Russia and what have you, they get Boeing to actually make some of the spurs for them as well now, don't they?
That's it. I know that there's a heavy rumor of. I read somewhere that there is heavy rumor of the Antonov 124 production line reopening again to build more. Which I think they would end up probably re-engineing them, and making sure that they're sort of fit for purpose nowadays, sort of thing. But to get to be able to get the production line back open again for the Antonov 124 would be quite incredible if it went through.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sorry,
go on then.
No, you're all right. You're all right.
I was going to say, if they do re-engineer it, they need to bring it into a digital world rather than it sort of still being in its analog world, cockpit-wise. If you sort of understand what I mean by that, they need to bring it up to these sort of days spec. I would suggest.
Just a quick hello to Rob Brown playing spot in there.
Yeah, I think they will do, won't they? aviation's moved on from analog dials and then things like that, hasn't it? It's all fly-by-wire and glass cockpits now, and I can't see any. I mean, if they're going to reopen that production line, they're not going to be solely a Ukrainian outfit, are they? Who they're going to sell them to? They're going to try and make it a more of a proper cargo plane. What other companies can buy and other companies can use as well. So they're going to have to, they're going to have to move with times, aren't they?
With the eventual demise of the 747, as much as we don't like to say it, there needs to be some sort of fairly heavy duty replacement, doesn't there, at some point in time?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to reopen it for everybody, because I don't think the likes of, let's say, like a UPS or something is going to order a Antonov 124 or something like that. So I think they're going to primarily be kept in like Eastern Europe and have like the more, like Eastern European cargo airlines sort of maybe go for them, if it even happens. Like I've not seen anything on it at all to say that it's guaranteed to. It's just there are rumors going around that they're looking to potentially reopen it, which, like I said, if they do, it would be absolutely fascinating to sort of see who would order it, sort of thing, especially with the airlines around now and all the sort of Eastern European cargo, like Siberian, with their wonderfully green livery that Ian loves so much.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That would be an interesting one. I don't think they would anyway.
No,
but
puke, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it would be interesting to see.
Well, like Ian said earlier on, their biggest potential customer is Russia, but Russia aren't obviously going to deal with Ukraine without turning it into a politics show. So it's a shame that their biggest potential market won't be available to them.
Yeah, I mean, it could also, be the final nail in the coffin for the 225 as well. If they reopen the 124 production line, I can never see the second 225 ever getting off the ground if that were the case, because I just don't think people would bother with it. I just don't think people would want it, would they?
Well, it's just like whilst the 225 is incredible at what it does, and like if you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch it, obviously. But the cost of running it stood at something like £30,000 an hour or something like that.
Yeah, it's silly
and
money.
it's just not it's just not financially viable, is it, to operate it when you've got the likes of Neos and cleaner running engines, and you can do the job for less. I know what the 225 can shift won't be shifted by anything other than C when it disappears at the moment, but I think it's a fairly niche market, isn't it?
Yeah, not just that though. I also read when I was doing some research before. I don't know whether it was just I don't know. It might have been Ilyushin who were doing it. I'm not sure whether it was all these three airline companies, but when they were making the landing gear and the wheels for these planes, they actually used sort of different rubber compounds and used softer, lower air pressure in the actual tires as well, and had really, really beefy landing gear on them just to get onto these rougher, like Russian runways and things like that, which I think that's a good selling point of the actual plane as well. The fact that it can actually land in places where you would never get an A350 cargo plane when they come out, or even a 737 cargo plane, just because it couldn't land in that specific territory, where I think some of these old Russian cargo planes can do, just because of the way they're built.
Well, yeah, obviously a lot of Russia, and that it sits in the north circle, and they're probably designed more in mind for that sort of condition and terrain than sort of a mid to southern hemisphere aircraft would be. That's for sure.
Forgot the ad was there then. Yeah, so I mean, I think out of the three, I think Antonov, whilst they're very productive, they don't have, like, I'd say, the most interesting history, and I mean that with a lot of respect, because as you'll see when we get on to sort of the other two, the Ilyushin and Tupolev, we'll start to see why they're sort of being given sort of copycat like the copycat tag. Like I said, which we'll jump onto in a minute. But you look at all the Antonov aircraft, you wouldn't sort of associate them with another aircraft sort of thing. You wouldn't see it as like a copycat sort of aircraft at all. So like the 124 doesn't resemble anything. The Antonov 12 doesn't resemble anything. The the 28, 30, 32s don't resemble anything. The Antonov 22, which we haven't even mentioned yet, which is the world's largest turboprop aircraft, which is astonishing, for that is another plane that goes into Manchester quite a bit, is the Antonov 22. I mean, those, as we mentioned earlier, this is the Antonov 2 on the screen there. That's what basically Antonov kicked off with, is that to start off with, and obviously now we know them as what they are now. But I mean, like I say, Ukraine have done a really good job with building a stable, like an aviation fleet for the country, starting from something as agricultural as the Antonov 2, going all the way up to, like I say, the biggest turboprop plane in the world, the Antonov 22, and obviously the big cargo planes such as the Antonov 124 and 225, and obviously everything else in between. So in terms of, like I say, in terms of like history and stuff, it's good to look back on Antonov and see what kind of aircraft they produced, but at the same time they don't represent anything, which is also something which is quite a good thing for them to have, because like I say, the other two companies will have copycat tags added to them as we sort of jump in and we sort of look at them shortly. But do we have like a favorite aircraft out of the Antonov lot, if you had to pick one?
Well, look, the one that I would run down the road to go and see would be either the 225 or the 124, like without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. But it's got to be the 225, hasn't it? Although the A40, the Antonov Air Force, if either of you have ever seen it, was the Soviets' attempt to allow a tank to be glided onto a battlefield by an aircraft. It was developed from a T-60 tank. This is going back to 1942. This, and it was unworkable. But if you ever see a picture of it, it's a biplane with a tank strap. Well, it's a tank with a biplane. It's a tank biplane. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, wow.
It's a bizarre looking thing. It really is, yeah.
Was it operational? Was there footage of it? Or do you reckon on YouTube to maybe look up at some point?
I wouldn't know, because it was cancelled. It was found to be unworkable.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
But I think Ilyushin, the Ilyushin 2. No, there was just that one. So, yeah, it's a bizarre looking thing. It really is. Yeah.
And of course, they are still trying to produce aircraft like the one on the screen now, which is the Antonov I want to say it's a 178, it said, or something, which is going to be like a, everyone can sort of, see what they sort of resemble at the same time, kind of going along with that sort of multi-role tanker type thing.
Yeah, not so much that one on the screen, but the rest of them are sort of unmistakably Soviet Union, aren't they? Just in their design and that, you can like, it smacks of the region they're from, if you sort of get what I mean by it. There's no sort of airs and graces about it. It's just a functioning aircraft.
It's very Soviet.
Yeah.
That's what they were built for, weren't they?
And here we go. There you go. So now on the screen, as we were talking about it, the biggest turboprop plane in the world, the Antonov 22. Makes a hell of a noise. I've seen lots of videos, never seen it in real life. It's supposed to be retiring very, very soon, I believe. That's one plane I would love to see and be able to hear with my own ears, sort of thing, rather than actually watch a video of it.
Yeah, absolutely. They built 68 of them, but like you say, they're sort of short-lived for what's left, because they've been knocking about since sort of 1967 onwards. So they've had their time, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I was going to say there's an aircraft that I wanted to see, of course it'd be the 225, but if we're going to go something a bit different, let's say the Antonov 22, just because it's different to like an engine noise, and so it's like to hear that turboprop at full power doing its thing on something so big as the Antonov 22, it'd be quite something to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the stats there. It had a decent range on it. It could do fully loaded 2,700 nautical miles. So it had a decent range on it for a turboprop aircraft. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, is it? But excuse me. I'm just trying to think of where we were. So, yeah. So I mean, originally, we actually have. Well, actually, I've found it's not the best picture in the world. But I will bring it up on screen. So anyone that's sort of looking at what Ian was saying just now about the, I'll just take the video off. If I take the video off just shortly, or just for now, just bear with me. Right, here is. It's the ugliest looking thing in the world. There you go. So that's
You know, I thought you were going to do a full screen of me. Then I was bracing myself.
No, that's the Antonov 40 that Ian was. The Antonov AN 440 that Ian was on about earlier. The flying tank. That's hideous. That. What even is that's hideous? Like, I'm not entirely sure what the idea behind it was.
No, it'd be the kind of thing if it was in a museum, it would strike interest, but as a viable idea, it's absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, but they came up with the idea, so they didn't have to send a separate plane in with a tank strapped underneath it to drop it into battlefields and what have you. So I would imagine that's only a light battle tank, isn't it? But it's bizarre, isn't it? It really is. It just, I mean, your anti-aircraft weapons would just take it out before it even had a chance to land, wouldn't it?
Not exactly inconspicuous, is it?
Not really, no.
I mean, it kind of gives you something to kind of modify on GTA, like just to modify a flying tank. But that's really bad, really bad.
Don't give GTA any more bad ideas.
No, God, no.
It's bad enough as it is.
It's the last thing it needs.
Yeah.
Also, friend of the show, Marco Barrett has sent me this. That's his photo of the Antonov 22 at Manchester.
Oh, wicked! Yeah, that's a really good picture. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Shame about the plane behind it.
Yeah, and it's got one of Steve's favourite planes behind it.
So he adds to it that the 22 is probably the best sounding aircraft that he's ever seen or heard. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, that's a great spot. It must have been amazing to have witnessed that day. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff. So a little bit. I mean, like I said, we kind of didn't want to touch too much upon Antonov because, like I say, we've already spoken about them, and we kind of wanted to, like I said, we kind of just wanted to get around from talking about it. So it kind of ties in with what we were mentioning with them earlier. So thankfully for us, it's an aircraft company that, like I said, they don't have that copycat tag, which, like I said, most of the other two, which you're about to look into, actually do. I'm just going to try and find a pitch here. If you'd like to talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I was just saying earlier on, like you say the word Antonov, and it is synonymous with one aircraft and one aircraft only, isn't it? For them, like there's no escaping the fact that the 225 is the sort of the main event of their fleet.
You've also got the I think it's still in use today as well, isn't it? The is it the AN-72 with the engines mounted above the wings? Quite an unusual looking thing, and it was designed for short takeoffs, weren't it?
Oh yeah, I suppose again in those sort of Russia, like when it was USSR, those sort of outlying Russian cities and towns as we know them now probably didn't have a vast amount of runway space, but they still needed obviously supplies going to and from sort of.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, it's obviously a good idea to be able to have a short takeoff.
Yes. Also, dedication there, as he was allowed the morning off college to go and get it, Marco Barrett. So, what a college that is.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think they would have had a choice, would they?
No, not really.
No. I imagine half the people there would have just done a runner anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very honest of you to let them know. To be honest.
Yeah. I'd have just run out anyway and just gone. I've just got into the toilet or something like that.
Yeah, 4 hours later.
Yeah.
I needed a number 2.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We're talking of number 2s. We're going to go on to the number 2 aircraft brand now that we are sort of going to look at. And the first one that we have of the so-called copycat tags, which of course is Ilyushin. Now, not all of their aircraft have the copycat tag, but like I said, we'll jump into that very, very soon. But again, another famous aircraft company, founded in 1933, so 88 years ago, by Sergei Vladimirovich Ilyushin, and built quite some quite interesting aircraft, especially like Ilyushin. I say they got the 76, which is on the screen now, the Ilyushin 18, the Ilyushin 96 as well. I mean, that there is a battered old plane there. You can see that already, but
Yeah.
quite a few planes. Kind of want to start with, we'll start with the one that's on the screen now, the Ilyushin 76, which I think is probably one of the more famous aircraft. Actually, one of the rare ones that is in the Ilyushin fleet that actually doesn't resemble any other aircraft whatsoever. So it's multi-purpose. So obviously it's been used by several cargo airlines, and also used by the Russian sort of Air Force, as well as sort of a strategic aircraft as well. So it's got its purposes, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, as well as the Russian Air Force, the Ukrainian, Indian, and Liberian, Libyan Air Force all used it as well. It had its first flight in 71 and was sort of properly in service in 74. And it's obviously an iconic airline and sort of well used within the military sector there.
Yeah, it's an aircraft that has had many sort of adaptations. It's been given the 70, I think it's the 78 tag or 76 tag for the pure reason of, like I say, it's being used by the Air Force as well. So it's multi-purpose. Some of it's used as like let's say like the equivalent of the A1 aircraft. So having I call it the dinner table, attached to the top of the fuselage there, a bit like the 707s and stuff, and everything. So it's a short stopping aircraft as well, which is pretty good for, like say, short airfields as well, for the Russian air forces and, like say, air forces around the world, like India and Libya and all that, tend to use as well. So it's pretty nifty, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's it. And it was originally designed to hold 40 tons of cargo and to be able to do sort of 5,000 kilometers, which is 2,700 nautical miles, and it was sort of in direct competition of the AN-12 that we spoke about shortly. So that was sort of their thinking behind it, and sort of give Antonov a bit of competition in the sort of freight market when it first was introduced.
Yeah. So I mean, more commonly, especially like nowadays, I don't know why there's an Airbus on there. But more commonly, for the Ilyushin 76, of course, airlines such as Volga Dnepr, which are quite the more common ones, tend to use them quite a bit. They're the ones that go into like East Midlands, all over sort of the UK sort of thing that you tend to see. You've also got going back in the day, you've got Iraq Airways. They used them. I know that because I've got a model of one. And I'm just trying to think of other airlines and stuff that have used them in the past. But
do North Korea not have them?
Air Koryo, I believe, do have
Korea, yeah.
Air Koryo. I believe they do. I don't know whether they still got it or not, but they use it for one reason or another. But it's very versatile, different, and like I say, the ones that we see now is more to do with, I say, Volga Dnieper as well, which obviously, like I say, other streaming places tend to go and get when they're sort of on UK shores. So it provides a different aspect as well in terms of being able to see something as rare in UK skies as a Russian plane.
Yeah,
I think that was Stansted, weren't it?
Yeah, I looked at it, yeah. And there's been some variants of it. They've turned it into an airborne refueling tanker, as well as doing like water drops on fires and that. So we've sort of adapted it to suit the market as it's progressed through its years as well. So it's not sort of stayed stagnant as it was first built. They've sort of adapted it to keep it current and useful.
And of course, re-engined it as well to make it more efficient, especially over UK skies. Seeing as there was a ban on the particular engines that just because of noise. So there was a noise ban. So that's why a lot of like Russian airplanes stopped operating to UK airports, was because of this ban on noise. So they re-engined the 76 to allow it to still fly into this country. I mean, you can see there's the odd occasion where it's allowed. So this particular one here on screen has got the original engines on them, and not the sort of the current the ones that they basically modify it. But this is quite a chunky aircraft, and it's quite a it's massive for what it doesn't look huge, but it's a massive aircraft, isn't it?
Yeah, they used it between 79 and 91 to fly 14,500 flights into Afghanistan and sort of taking in servicemen and the cargo required. And they used it because it was able to fly sort of high enough and be robust enough that it couldn't be shot out of the sky at that point. So it was like a proper sort of battle horse to get troops into where they were needed as well at that point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they sort of entered the airline market with the Ilyushin 14, which was a twin-engine commercial aircraft, which could be used for military personnel and cargo as well. It was called the Crate, just purely because of its size, and the fact that it was quite bulky as well. An astonishing amount of these aircraft were built. 1,348 of these Ilyushin IL-14s were built, flying with multiple airlines in at the time the Soviet Union, and they were used as well in sort of Eastern European and Eastern European and sort of African and some Asian military as well. So just to run off the top of my head, Czechoslovakian Airlines used it, Interflug and Deutsche Lufthansa, not the Lufthansa we know now, but the one before that. Iran Air used it, LOT used it, Tarom used it, Aeroflot used it, Yemen Airlines used it, and JAT, Yugoslavian Airlines, also used it as well. So it had its uses. It was also different. There was different variants of it. So I'll say cargo, VIP, stretched airliners, freight, and everything. And that's what kind of got Ilyushin onto the map, was the aircraft of the Ilyushin 14. And obviously from there, as we've seen already on the screen, they've gone from strength to strength. and built so many airliners over the time that it's where the copycat tag comes in. So let's jump from the 14 to the Ilyushin 18, which, if no one's seen the Ilyushin 18, looks very much like a DC-6. And I mean, I don't know. Have you guys particularly, you know the comparison between the two, or?
Yeah, no, it's certainly striking, isn't it? Like, it's not a million miles away. It's sort of like they copied out of a textbook, and they've just sort of changed the last two words round to make it look like their own work. But
they've given like the DC-6 and DC-7 the Soviet touch, should we say?
yeah.
So at least to me, that's what it looks like. I mean, the Ilyushin 18 was probably one of the more sort of more successful planes out of the Ilyushin fleet. I can already rattle off the top of my head airlines like LOT Polish Airlines. What else are we thinking? Tarom used it. And it was very popular, very, very popular indeed. So turboprop, but not many built. 678 were built of these planes, and like I say, it's very reminiscent of like DC-6 and like the Bristol Britannia at the same time. That's probably the more better comparison, is like the Bristol Britannia. For those that sort of don't really know the aircraft and things like that. But that's what I would put it with, is literally it would just look like the Bristol Britannia. Just if you gave it a pint of vodka, that's what it would look like.
I suppose if the formula worked and it was a successful aircraft sort of worldwide, why wouldn't you take the idea and just sort of tweak the knobs a little bit to make it your own?
Yeah.
Like, it must have been different enough that they didn't face any sort of lawsuit for doing it.
I think it was probably just the fact that at the time they didn't really notice it in its way, sort of how it looks very, very similar. But yeah, it's very striking to look at that and not look at like the Bristol Britannia and go, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, there's 18 still in service. I've just seen there, so they do sort of still exist, but they're all sort of out in like North Korea, Middle East, and that. So the chances of seeing them yourself are now sort of next to zero without going to one of those places, unfortunately.
Yeah, so without going to places like Russia or like deepest, darkest parts of like Africa and things like that, you're not gonna be able to see one.
No, it's a real shame. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll grab a quick image just so people can sort of have a look and see the similarities. But yeah, I mean, whilst you can't beat a Russian aircraft sort of thing, I'm just trying to, what have I done? Yeah, whilst you can't beat a Russian plane, it's a shame that they're sort of not as frequent in this country now as they once were.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? They've like everything of that era, they've been sort of top trumped by bigger and better. And I dare say if we did this podcast in 30, 40 years' time and reviewed like the A350 and the Neo, we'd laugh and go, God, they don't half look old and whatever. And it's just sort of progression of time, isn't it? That they sort of start looking dated and these airliners get better and more updated aircraft to use.
Yeah. So on screen, for those that are watching, it's the Ilyushin 20, which is the military version of the Ilyushin 18. But you can instantly see, at least for me, you can see the comparisons of that to, like a Bristol Britannia or like a DC-6 or a DC-7 sort of aircraft. So, yeah, at least for me, that's kind of what I see anyway.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, they've sort of got the blueprints, haven't they, and made it their own and what have you. But like I say, if that plane was working at the time in that era, then I suppose why wouldn't you sort of stray too far from what's good and have it in your own fleet.
Yeah, I mean, there are some very interesting ones which we'll get onto shortly. But like I say, for now, I mean, that's what you've got in terms of in terms of that. Now, I'll put the next one on screen, and then I want you to shout out what it looks like. Hold on. First one that comes to your head.
Hang on. Oh, I can't think of it. There you go. Micro Barrett's in.
Yeah, VC-10.
The VC-10. Yes. So it was. I mean, Russians were. I mean, I say Russians, but Eastern European companies were very prone to looking at successful Western type of aircraft, and basically trying to recreate it in their own way by having, having their own style of it. So this was first flown in 1963, about a year or so after. The actual VC-10 itself. So they took British ideas of the VC-10 and implemented it into their own style of the Ilyushin 62. 4 engines, very powerful, bigger landing gear than the VC-10, and still sort of being used today.
I mean, it was a tried and tested plane of its time, weren't it? Like you say, the VC-10. It was. I mean, when did that stop flying?
70s, I think.
Yeah. So it was going for quite a while, and like you say, it's a powerful 4-engine plane, obviously very reliable, and it does look like it, doesn't it? And I think part of the problem with it is just that they weren't privy to. I mean, you're going back to the 1960s now, and you're in like high-tech Cold War and things like that, and I just don't think they were privy to this kind of technology we were getting. So what we had, or what the Americans or Europeans had, or whatever. So the bits of technology what were coming through to Russians were probably through spies and God knows what else, or whatever means they were getting it. So they were just having to, suppose, make do with what they could, and they've obviously seen European planes or American planes and thought, well, if it works for them and we can reproduce it, it'll work for us as well. And I think you can see that quite a lot in a lot of the aircraft what they created.
So especially for the VC-10 because it looks like it, but especially for like the Ilyushin 62, there was a lot of like controversy with it. So there was a lot of talk of what they call industrial espionage, because it was developed around the same time as the VC-10. So very, very similar, as we know, because you can instantly tell that it's recognizable as like a VC-10, but obviously outlasting the VC-10 by a long way, because Air Koryo, as we mentioned earlier, from North Korea, do use this aircraft still.
I suppose also sort of financially, DC-10, they sort of moved on quicker into sort of the Boeing era and all that kind of business, whereas these Soviet countries have kind of stuck loyal to their own aircraft longer, haven't they? That's what's sort of the difference with them.
Yeah. So rather interestingly is obviously the VC-10 was built 54 times, and the Ilyushin 62, for comparison, was built 292 times. Now, bearing in mind, obviously, the airlines like Aeroflot, Czechoslovakia Airlines, and sort of those Eastern European, like Romanian airlines as well, like Tarom used them, Cubana as well down in the Caribbean, sort of thing. All used the Ilyushin 62. So, like I said, even now they are still in service. So it's almost a testament to, yes, taking Western taking Western technology and making it their own, but at the same time, being able to outlast something like the VC-10, which is a legend in its own right, despite the fact that from the actual skies didn't retire until 2013, but the Ilyushin 62 is still in service with passenger planes today.
Yeah, they actually did a VIP version of it as well, which were used by heads of state from 14 different countries. So that goes to show what faith these countries had in that specific aircraft as well. So, it was a trusted piece of engineering. I suppose it was very well engineered as well, coming from Soviet Russia, because everything were, built to last, weren't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, incredible. Like that, it's still going on. Like, given it, it's what is it now? 50, 50 approaching 60 years old since its sort of first production.
It is quite incredible to know that it is still excuse me, still in service.
Yeah.
Would
you say it's probably Russia's Ilyushin's probably biggest success story?
I think it's a toss up between that and the Ilyushin 86 and 96, which obviously, like I said, we'll jump onto in a second, because we got the 96 to come, but the 86 we'll see shortly. But the 96 is again a bit of another, it's another trait of the whole copycat side of things, because this was drawn by Marco Barrett for the show, but you can instantly see what it looks like. And 2 points for anybody that might be able to tell me what it looks like.
It's got a hint of 340 about it.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. So
not his drawing. I should point out, not the drawing. Just in general. It's not. It doesn't look like a 340. I don't mean that at you.
But no, it's very similar. Again, coming out around the same time as the original design of the A340 from Airbus, and it's Russia's version basically of the Airbus A340. Also, it was there to compete with the likes of the 767 as well, which also came out. The 200 around that sort of time. It'd been out for a long time. The 300 was sort of on its way out in terms of being delivered to airlines and stuff. And then obviously they must have seen the A340 design and go, oh, quite fancy some of that. So, and then chucked it into here. For me, it's one of the nicer looking Russian aircraft that's been built. But instantly you can get it confused very easily with the A340.
Yeah, that's it. And there's only 3 of them sort of left in service these days, but the similarity between the 340 is absolutely striking, isn't it? It's not even a rip-off. They've just got the tracing paper out and gone straight over the top of it and put their own name on it, pretty much.
Yeah, it is. It's very much like it, where it's a case of, like, say, copy and paste, but it's almost like copying someone's homework, but you're trying to reword it so it looks like you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is. It is one of the nicer planes, but instantly you're getting like A340 vibes, and it's the same with the 86 as well. The 86 is obviously the 96 is a modernized version of the 86, and the 86 is very much like a 340 sort of thing, just without the winglets and stuff. I think the 86 was dubbed a bit more like the A340 than the 96. But yeah, instant comparisons between this and the A340 are there to basically be seen. I say that other ones, if we're going to go off of if we're going to go off of technicality, actually no, we won't, because that'll be going on to the next one, which we'll go on to now. So
it's a slightly stumpier version, though, isn't it? When you see the photos of it, it's not as long as the 340.
No, it does look a little bit stumpy, doesn't it? It looks a bit chunky, doesn't it?
It's
Yeah.
almost like
looking at one. Sorry, go on.
like it doesn't actually require 4 engines. That's sort of how it looks to me. It's like sort of slightly bigger than a 737, but we've planted 4 engines on it. It must be seriously overpowered for its sort of size to engine ratio.
Now, the next one we're going to go on to is, for me, probably the biggest culprit of doing, the whole copy and paste side of things. So we're going to start with. We're going to go on to obviously Tupolev now. Tupolev for me are probably the biggest copycats. Copy and paste, tracing paper, etc. Company that you could possibly find purely for the reason. I mean, this is literally one of many, but 2 seconds. Right, here we go. So purely for the reason that there's no there's no prize for guessing what that kind of looks like. But it's a fascinating story, isn't it? Because we were thinking about touching upon the Tupolev 144, as everyone knows this, which is also dubbed as Konkordsky, which actually took flight first over Concorde. I think by about a few months. I think.
Yeah, that's it. They called it the Charger, didn't they? Actually, it was the world's first supersonic passenger plane, but slightly unfortunately, they were showing it off at the Paris Air Show, and it went sort of terribly wrong for them, and it affected their development massively to the point that it sort of never really got going after that.
No, I mean the whole Konkordsky Tupolev 144 story is a really fascinating one, which we'll touch upon briefly for now. Is that it didn't see service for very long because it was deemed as unsafe, and no, it was kept as, rather than doing what it was supposed to do, which was to fly like long haul, like distance, kind of a bit like what Concorde is now, or sorry, was back then rather. It kind of, I think I can't remember what the route was, but it stayed within Russia, and it didn't even do well on that. And in the end, they thought, well, this is just costing us too much to kind of be able to run sort of things. So they ended up retiring them a lot sooner than they had hoped, because they obviously thought that they'd beaten British Aerospace and Aerospitali to the supersonic race, and thought that they won it by being able to kind of take the Tupolev 144 into the air for the first time, as like the first supersonic airliner to lift off and take flight. And obviously, like I say, I think that the fact that they probably rushed it was the lead to their ultimate downfall, where you say the plane unfortunately disintegrated at Paris. So
Well, yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what would have happened had everything gone right for them, and whether it would have been in direct competition with Concorde, in terms of like flying for as many years as Concorde did, or whether it was a case of just unfortunately a rushed aircraft, and they didn't really iron out everything.
Yeah, so I don't know, but for me, sort of flying London to New York is a more sort of I don't want to use the term, but it's like a classier route. It's business people going to meetings and all that. I just like, obviously Moscow's the capital of to Russia and what have you, but I just don't think the numbers would have been there for going to sort of America and back, because apart from sort of the oil rig, Moscow's not really a wash of money to have the passengers to be able to sort of fill it and make it any sort of sense of profitable for them.
Yeah. So Rob Brown pointing out that it was Moscow to Khabarovsk. Pronunciation is on point. Which obviously the route that the Tupolev 144 took, that ultimately killed it because it wasn't doing anything with it really. That's all it was doing, was back and forth from there, and it wasn't basically doing what they wanted it to do, which was to go out there and prove itself to everybody.
Yeah, strangely, like they the actual passenger sort of numbers, they retired it early, as you say, but he never actually officially put it out of service until 1999, which seems a peculiar one. So he sort of hung on to it in some kind of vain hope that it would sort of retake to the skies. But yeah, passenger-wise, it only lasted sort of 5 years. It wasn't around at all.
No, I mean, it was. It was a complete mistake, I think, for them to kind of rush. I think that's what it was in the end, was the fact that they rushed it to the point where, it was deemed unsafe and nobody wanted to fly it, and that's why they didn't do it. Rob Brown, Plane Spotting Air, saying it only completed 100 or so total revenue flights, where you compare that to Concorde. It's an absolute no-brainer. But that's just a small touch on the Russian Concorde ski.
Do you think, just on that quickly, do you think if it had sort of stuck around longer, we'd sort of hold it in the same esteem as like a British Airways Concorde, or do you think we sort of would have dismissed it as not our own and not had the same sort of affection and love for it, even though it was sort of very similar?
It's a good question. I think possibly. I think it would be held in the same regards as what we see Concorde as in like this country, in France, and especially like parts of the world that it flew to. I think Russians probably would have been in the same boat, and they probably would have held it as a legend of their skies. And it's like a milestone for them, because obviously, like I say, they allowed it to take flight first. And I think had it completed what it was actually built to do, I think it would be seen as something completely different now. And it probably would be, as I said, how we see Concorde, where it's just like, it's a legend. Nothing can be beaten, and we want it back in the sky, sort of thing. Would it still be flying around today now? I don't think so.
No,
I think they would have retired it maybe a couple of years after Concorde, to kind of say, we built the superior aircraft, sort of thing. But obviously, ultimately, that wasn't so.
Yeah, I'd sort of agree. I think it would not necessarily on these shores, but certainly in Russia, they would have sat there and seen it as a national icon of aviation, wouldn't they? So
I think so, and I think there'd be plenty of them around to kind of put in like museums and stuff. Whereas obviously there isn't many, because obviously the events that happened as well. So
obviously so.
Yeah. What do you think, Ian? Did you think it?
I think at the time of its construction, when they actually built it, I think they had a point to prove, and I think they were trying to prove a point that it was round about that time, round about your late 1960s, where you had the space race and you had this and that and the other, and it was always America versus Russia, weren't it? And you've got the Cold War and things like that, and I think Russia had a point to prove that, despite whatever sanctions we held against them or whatever beef we had with them and things like that, that they're not this third world country what are sat on the eastern side of Europe. They are quite technologically advanced, and they can put a man into space, which they did do, and they did it before the Americans did. And they can build a Concorde, which they flew, and which they built, and they flew it before we flew ours and things like that. And these other aircraft as well, what they built, and even to this day, with some of the Russian fighter jets and things like that, there's so much more. I don't know, I wouldn't say maybe not technically advanced, but one springs to mind, and it was the I forgot what it was. I forgot what it was now, but the jets at the back sort of twisted and what have you, and it could do flat spins and pretty much turn on a sixpence, and that was a Russian fighter jet. And I think they had a point to prove that they are as good as what we are in the West, and that we sort of perceived Russia as this like backward nation, like you say, on the eastern side of Europe, but obviously they're not, and they never were. They're quite technologically advanced, and they're as good, or if not better, than what we can do. I mean, some of their planes from 40 and 50 years ago are still going strong today.
Yeah. So I'm just pointing at that because I can see that just about to go. I'm hoping it holds
you
on for the
paused
next
it.
20 minutes.
You were pointing up, then I thought you were pointing up at my trophy. Sorry.
No, I'm literally pointing at like that because I heard that go off and I was like,
Yeah.
got 20 minutes yet.
I think in those days of like USSR Cold War, there was a degree of propaganda as well knocking around, wasn't there? So
Yeah, of course.
if they could chuck something out, like you say, and make the world think they're amazing and got it nailed on, that was sort of massaging the egos of the Russians, USSR at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what they were kind of hoping for was to build this aircraft and everything, and then sort of later on down the line be able to kind of say,
great success.
but they didn't. Sorry, but they did. But they didn't. So it just Ian hates Borat, by the way.
You know, you're shaking my
That's
head.
chuckled me so much.
It doesn't play down my end, but I knew exactly what was coming.
Oh, dearie me. But
Great success.
great success it was not. But yeah, I think they would herald it as a bit of a legend, really, and like we see Concorde and that. But we'll move on because we've got to try and get through till 9:00. So 2 points for anybody that can tell me what this is. Or what it's supposed to look like.
Well, in my book, it's an A321, near enough. Sort of, or a 757.
Mate.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was deemed as the copycat to the 757. Look at me going all American at 757. 757. So what happened was it's got the original Russian engines, but to go one further, they actually re-engined this. It's a Tupolev 204 for anybody that might want to know what it actually is. But they actually re-engined the Tupolev 204 with the same engines that the 757 flew. So, or flies rather, which is the RB211s, I think, something like that. They're Rolls-Royce engines, regardless. But if you've never seen a video of a Tupolev 204 take off with the sound of a 757, it's uncanny. You wouldn't think that, if you close your eyes and you looked at it, you're like, oh, okay, actually that sounds like a 757. Open your eyes and you're like, oh, that's not a 757. But it's strange. Only a handful of aircraft have the engines. Otherwise, they've got the standard Russian ones. But yeah, this was to capture the market of another alternative to the 757 for the likes of Air China, who used it, who were also using the 757, but they used the cargo version of the Tupolev 204. Airlines, again, like Aeroflot. I think S7 Airlines, they used the Tupolev 204. Red Wings, of course, used it as well. So quite a few, DHL, I think for Aviastar Cargo, and DHL Colors, I think they used that as well. Transaero used it. So it's had its fair few kind of, for those that don't want to kind of go to Western types, this aircraft was perfect because it filled the market that the 757 fills for, the rest of the west of Europe and the world and that. So, yeah, again, another ripoff. So,
yeah, they produced 86 of them, but there's only sort of a handful left in service these days. So they're sort of coming to the end of their lifespan, those.
Like the 757.
Well, yeah, unfortunately. So, well, particularly for you, I know you're a big old fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just there's one here that I don't think a lot of people know. So I'm just trying to get an idea here for just bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves whilst I find a picture.
But yeah, that's sort of if you saw that, you wouldn't immediately assume it was sort of Soviet Union, would you? It's very it's got a kind of a Western feel to it, hasn't it? That
Absolutely, yeah. I think just looking at the engines don't quite sit right with me, to be honest. They look a bit on the long side, don't they? I'm looking at that as a 757 at the moment, so the engines don't quite sit right. And I think the main landing gear as well, looks a bit too close to fuselage because they sit quite high, don't they? 757s.
Yeah, it does. It does to me have an Airbus front to it though.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, they tend to be a little bit rounder on nose, don't they, than what Boeing are?
Yeah. So that's sort of where the why sort of A321 sort of guess came from, because it sort of had the Airbus nose on it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So of course, obviously, apart from the likes of the actual, we go on about the fact that they tend to rip off aircraft. Of course, you've got the Tupolev 150, 154, 134, which were very popular airliners. Tri-holers, as we'll give a shout out to Matt Cochran, as he says, tri-holers that were very noisy, very prominent in this country, in the UK at least. I've seen a handful of them, taking a picture of one. As many people have, like Manchester used to see quite a few, Heathrow saw quite a few, etc. But did we know that the Russians were interested in another Western aircraft that they kind of wanted to make their own? Just out of curiosity, do you fancy having a guess what it could be?
I haven't researched this, so this is a complete stab, and I'm going to say they tried to copy like the 747, something like that.
Okay.
I'm going to say they tried copying a 380.
Ooh, okay. So they they did try to come up with a concept of a double-decker, but they took one look. This was back in the 70s when a particular tri-hull aircraft came out, and wanted to turn that into a Russian variant.
Oh.
You wouldn't think it was a TriStar, would you?
No.
So what happened was, is obviously Lockheed came out with the Russian TriStar, and what they wanted to do, excuse me, what they wanted to do was they wanted to buy a handful of the TriStars, and they wanted to then be able to sort of try and design one of their own based on the TriStar from Lockheed. Never came to fruition. Never happened. Never really materialized and stuff. I don't know what they would have called it. I remember watching a video on it. I just don't remember what they were going to call it. But they wanted to basically take the design of the Lockheed L1011 TriStar and put vodka in it and make it their own. That's the only way to describe it. I mean, I have seen names around of like the L1011 Kov, or Tristarsky. Everything just seems to have a ski at the end of it. But yeah, I mean, what would you have made of this? In this this came about from the Russians.
Well, but like you say, it would have been a total rip off, wouldn't it? But again, if the idea at the time was working for Lockheed, then sort of why spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on development when you can sort of rip it off and sort of tinker bits to your liking on it? I suppose it would have saved them a lot of design and cost, wouldn't it, if they just robbed someone else's idea?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible because what the Soviets decided to, I'll say a handful, there was 30 of them ordered, and they wanted to kind of build their own sort of things using the exact same engines and everything else. And they just wanted to kind of also like put their own engines on it as well, and just basically see what would have come from it. And obviously it never happened.
I am surprised that these companies who these other companies where they were ripping them off never got the hump over it. I wouldn't be thrilled if I'd spent all that money on development and time and build, and then my rival or whoever came and robbed the idea. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd stand for it quite as well as these companies seem to have done.
Yeah, it's there's obvious there's obvious rip-offs, and then there's like taking a TriStar and putting a Russian flag on it.
Yeah. Yeah, basically that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. We are going to fly through the next sort of thing. So we've looked at the past and we've looked at sort of the present as what it is. But in terms of right now, in terms of what the future holds, and this is going to scar me for the rest of my life, actually just showing this particular one. So if we take that off the screen, a little bit of the future before we sort of decide to go for this evening. I can't believe I'm showing this, but the future for Russian aviation is looking pretty bright. There's a new company, for those that might not know, called Irkut, who have come out with what is the ugliest plane I think I've ever seen in my life. But it's called the MC-21-300. They are looking into stretch variants, which would remind you of... Anyone?
I'm just going to keep shouting A320.
I mean, I'm shouting 737 with that one.
It's more of like the 320 market, I think.
Yeah.
But my God, is it like the ugliest thing in the world? It looks so out of proportion to like. So when you look at it in flight, everything looks like it's too forward. So the wings are too forward, everything's too forward, and there's so much like fuselage at the back. It's horrific. Like if this was the future of Russian aviation, despite the fact that it looks bright enough as it is, to see this come up on your screen and be like, this is the future? Like, unfortunately, yeah, this is the future of Russian, well, especially for Russia anyway, like Russian aviation. But for Eastern European side of things, it's horrific. It's like the worst thing ever.
I don't know if it's just the angle of the photo. It's like it's looking over its shoulder. Like the way the cockpit windows are, it looks like it's sort of trying to look behind itself.
Or just
Maybe
looking at itself going, why have I been built?
Perfectly fine to me.
Yeah, trying to look at something better behind it.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. But what about is it Sukhoi Superjet as well?
The Sukhoi Superjet, that's been around for a little bit of time. So there's also that. Although that's had obviously its incidents and everything, so people have their sort of opinions on it. But yeah, the future of Russian or Eastern European aviation is.
I think the problem is it's just a bit samey, isn't it? It's not.
It doesn't capture Russia as a whole, I think, is the best way of putting it.
There's no sort of unique value to it.
I mean, we all know what Russian aircraft are like.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's another picture here which I will bring up.
Yeah, maybe coming up with a plane like that's going to shake off that image of, that they're all vodka burning absolute tanks. Well, that's the image what they're trying to shake off, aren't they?
Possibly. They kind of want to go maybe in a different direction, but like, let me just grab. So when I say things are out of proportion, right? Do you see what I mean? Like,
I understand what you're saying. I can see your point, but I don't think it's not causing my eyes to burn or anything like that. It looks perfectly fine to me, to be honest.
Ugly. It's awful.
Yeah, but I bet Marco would soon fire a picture up of it, wouldn't he?
Like I say, I think my problems with it, it's just a bit kind of bland. It's like you could already imagine it being into Heathrow, and you could already kind of imagine getting one photo of it and then going, that's enough of that, like you do with an A320.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing. It's it's very beige, if you know what I mean.
Very vanilla.
It's just.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
There's no.
There's nothing special about it, is there?
No, it's not dreadful. But I think you compare it immediately to a 320, and it makes it sort of dreadful.
Yeah. That's the Yeah, it's going to be one of them occasions where you change your battery, isn't it? Again, where there's what they call MC, whatever they call M300. There's a TAP Portugal M300 flying in. Oh, hang on, let me change my battery then.
You know how, like, for those that that are like wrestling fans and stuff, you always have the toilet break match. This is the toilet break aircraft. It's completely out. I mean, there's too much at the back. There's far too much at the back, and I don't like that tail. That tail was so bad. It doesn't look big enough.
No, it does look. It does look small, doesn't it? Sort of compared to what we're used to.
It's dreadful. Oh, I don't want to see it. Get off my screen. Get rid of it. It's gone. It's done.
I don't mind it.
No more, thank you. No more. Righty ho. So it kind of, I say it's a bit of a rushed episode. It's not a rushed episode at all. We've taken a look at sort of the background, the history of Eastern European aviation. Hopefully, it's been quite enjoyable. I think we've had a lot of fun looking back, and it's kind of, we haven't touched every part of the history of the aviation side of things of Eastern Europe rather, but hopefully kind of a brief look into it has kind of given you an idea for what it's like, and obviously what the future holds, which doesn't look promising. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, so hopefully that's given you some indication as to sort of which way it's heading. We're gonna start to wrap the show up first before we do so. I just realised I haven't put any of the social medias throughout the show this evening, so you can follow us on Twitter at the Dep Lounge YT. You can find us on Facebook by searching the Departure Lounge Podcast. Find us on Instagram as well, and if you fancy it, you can follow Steve. You can follow Ian on Instagram and follow Steve on Twitter. Wonderful. 2 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, let's get to it, Ian. What's that over your left-hand shoulder there?
Oh, this thing here. Oh, that thing there.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
I've become the Pike Anglers Club of UK lure champion on the Lancaster Canal. There
you go. Let's hold it up. Let's have a look, Ian.
Come on then, trophy boy.
Oh, hang on. Oh, got it on my shoulder. I might to lift it. It's quite heavy, actually. There you go, guys.
Look at that.
Well done. Hold on.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Great success.
It was a great success. Just waiting for my nameplate to come back from the engravers so I can stick my nameplate on front.
So we've got business class, we've got trophy man,
trophy boy,
yeah,
and Tom.
And me. Now starting to feel like the outcast of the group.
Well, no, you had a good week away last week, so
yeah,
I'll take
it.
Yeah.
We've all done well in the last week.
Definitely,
I'll take it. Yeah, we'll start to wrap the show up now. So hopefully you've enjoyed the show there. Marco Barrett saying, "Nice one, Ian."
Cheers, Marco.
So hopefully you've enjoyed this little look back on our return to action after a week off. Next week will be a little bit more sort of organised and less chaotic, but hopefully it's been a lot of fun. We'll do some shout outs now. So it's a part of the show where you guys can get involved as well. So if you have any shout outs for anybody, chuck them in the chat and we'll show them whilst we do ours. So, Mr. Business Class, I'm too business class for my shirt. Would you like to go first?
Yep, first one. All the scumbags and economy on Monday. Ha! Unlucky chaps.
Oh, the apologies.
No, back to a serious note, Tom, as ever, thank you for having me on the show. I always do appreciate it.
No problem.
Special one to Ian. I know I was a massive pain in the ass because I left everything to the last minute going away, and I wound myself up something terrible. And to be fair, you did a banging job of keeping me grounded. I was all over the place. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you're welcome, Steve. You're welcome. Nothing.
And,
somebody had to do it, didn't they?
Yeah.
No, you're welcome, pal.
And finally, to Marco Barrett, he's drawn me the most amazing picture of the A380 I was on Monday with the reg and that, and it's absolutely astonishing. And we've had a nice sort of chat on Messenger and that, and you're an absolute top bloke. And like I say, I can't put it into words how much I appreciate you doing that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I take it you were sat on this side of plane, Steve, and that's why it's leaning over. No offense, pal. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I was near enough in the captain's seat. I tell you what, there was
yeah, I bet.
properly loved me on there.
Yeah, what a fantastic experience.
Yeah, no, it's a bucket list. Like I say, if you get the chance to fly it, like just go and do it. Like if you can go and do it, then I'd highly recommend it.
One thing to say about that picture.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Certainly is.
Yeah, it's cracker, in it. Really, really is.
Cracking. I'm gonna have to find some more clips like that.
But yeah, like I said at the top of the show, everyone at BA, obviously, I know I travelled in style, but I think just generally speaking, cabin crew in general do a good job and having to put up with probably a lot of idiots and a lot of hassle sort of during their day-to-day jobs. So just shout out to anyone who works sort of in cabin crew and that. And yeah, that's me done. Thank you very much.
Big up yourselves. Ian, over to you.
Just shout out to you, Tom, for having another podcast this week, and nice to be back and what have you, and to you as well, Steve. Big shout out to Rob Brown there. I just put a comment up, but I didn't get a chance to read it. I was going to do, but I'm not going to bother reading it. Yeah, I'd say thank you, Rob Brownski. Yeah, no, and thanks to everyone who's just joined in again tonight. It's been another good one as well. I think it's quite I think it's quite a hard subject, really. We Eastern European Airlines, because it's such it is, because you don't really pay much attention to it, do you? So when you're having to do something like that, there's so much information to try and take in such a short space of time, and you could do a podcast about each of the airlines, to be quite fair, couldn't you? But no, yeah, fantastic show tonight, guys. So yeah, thanks to you two, and thanks to everybody listening. So yeah, happy days. That's
lovely.
me.
I've just ended the poll that was in the chat. Everyone's favourite is Antonov, so thank you to those that voted. Much appreciated. Over to me now. Actually, we'll get this one up on screen first.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, delighted to hear he was unscathed. So brilliant news on that front.
Yeah, I think we all echo that here, don't
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I'll give a few shout outs because why not? First one to Steve for doing a wonderful job, as per normal. Even if he is a snobby business class so-and-so.
I haven't sent you your little gift yet, so don't insult me too much.
Love you. No, well done for getting through another great show, I think.
Yeah,
Even
no,
though,
absolutely.
like Ian said, it's a tricky subject because it's such a vast area, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've done well. Definitely one we'll dive into again, I think. Big thank you to Ian for doing another good job as well in contributing as contributor. Big shout out to everybody that was watching and liked the show. If you haven't done, leave a like on the stream. It would mean a lot to us. And if you're new around here, please feel free to subscribe. It would also mean a lot to us as well. Big shout out to frontline workers around the world, NHS, everyone literally around the world continuing to fight the battle, and for all the hard work that you guys are doing. So big shout out and a lot of love to you. That's it then. That is it from us. So big thank you to everybody that's watched throughout the hour and 35 minutes we've been doing this now. And we are now going to say our goodbyes. So, Steve, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think Ian missed one out, so I'll throw that in. Goodbye, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe to Ian's Chutney channel.
Not heard that for a while. Brilliant.
Still waiting for the chutney to come out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, you know, Christmas is on its way.
Yeah, well,
everyone likes a nice jar of chutney at Christmas, don't they?
Do a Christmas special just for you.
Yeah,
everyone likes to delve into the chutney over Christmas. So,
yeah, no, lovely.
One of the two.
Yeah, have a good week, everyone, and stay safe. And thanks for watching as ever.
Wonderful, Ian.
Yep. Yeah. So thanks everybody for joining in again tonight. Thanks to you too. And das vidania, comrades. Here's Rob.
Do you know what that means?
It's probably offensive, so I'm going to wash my mouth out in a minute with soap and water.
More apologies for next week. No, wonderful. And yeah, all that's left for me to say is we'll be back next Wednesday, 7:30. Don't know about the topic yet. We'll leave it as a surprise. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m, same place, same time.
Yep.
All that jazz. So have a fantastic rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend when it comes, and we'll see you next week. Look after yourselves. Don't do anything I wouldn't, which isn't a lot. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you
Sure,
later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.